In this painting, Sea Glass Treasures, the shadows and the reflected light were key. I've used transparent blue, greens, and yellows, including Anthraquinone blue, Ultramarine blue, Cobalt blue, Phthalo green, and transparent yellow. I wet the shadow area and then started dropping in different blues. I used clean water to paint in some light reflection lines just as the paper was starting to lose its shine. I paint with a couple of my friends I've known since we were kids over Zoom. We decided we were going to work on our glass painting skills, and we each picked a picture that we all three painted. This one was from my reference picture I took of part of my sea glass collection. It's been fun to learn from each other and see our different styles. A clay shaper and masking fluid is used to mask some of the highlights on the jar, including on the lettering. Space is left for the thickness of the glass when painting the shadows. Warm and cool grays are made with burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. The highlights in the handle was carefully painted around. The jar is wet and mixtures of ultramarine blue and phthalo green are mixed in. Thicker paint is added to the base of the jar, and once dry, fine lines are added. I painted additional glazes, avoiding the highlights at the top of the jar. I love the shadow that the wire is casting. Our highlights are picked up with a damp brush and a Q-tip. And we're back to painting sea glass. Using a Q-tip for the highlight and cooler greens for the form shadow. Picking up paint with a damp brush leaves a soft edge. A Q-tip is a little more defined. Masking fluid leaves a hard edge, which can be softened if necessary. The bale wire was rusted. I wanted to show its warm color and increased texture, and it gave me the opportunity to have lost edges at the top of the wire. And yes, I had to look up the name of the bale wire. This was one of my grandmother's canning jars. I continued to develop the jar, adding some darker color to the ridges where the glass is thicker. Sea glass shapes are painted in the jar, and other areas the negative space around the sea glass is painted. The transparent nature of watercolor was perfect for painting the transparent sea glass. The jar has a seam ridge, and I love it following the contours of the jar. I added some very light gray to parts of the top edge of the jar to define its edge. A stiff nylon brush is used to pick up the paint to indicate the light shining through the glass. The sea glass was painted in multiple layers, keeping in mind to save some light areas. The thickness of this piece was shown by a darker edge along two of the sides. Ooh, that's a fun color. Seeing the wire behind the glass helps to add to the interest. My favorite parts to paint were the shadows and the light reflecting through the sea glass. The outside edges of the shadows need to be dark enough so that the reflections shine bright. Darker color was needed behind the white sea glass so it could be seen better, as it is linking the jar to the spilled sea glass. And this is from my painting group. Send me the block of paper that I'm painting on. It is a 300-pound cold press Arches block. I'm really enjoying the thick 300-pound paper. It does have a little bit more texture than the 140-pound. At the end of this video, you will see the scan that I took to make prints. You can no longer see the texture of the background. If you are interested in a print, I'll put the link in the description. More glazes and details are added to the jar. At this point, it feels like I'm almost done, and that it will never get done. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I liked the bale wire when it was finished. The masking fluid is picked up with a rubber cement remover. Another layer was added to the shadow to intensify the color. The Anthraquinone blue has a pretty big dry shift, meaning that it dries a lot lighter than when it's wet. This is currently one of my favorite colors to paint with. It is ultramarine blue and phthalo green. The details on the letters were kept to a minimum so it doesn't draw the attention away from the sea glass. Adding some finishing touches to the sea glass. Painting glass was a fun challenge. Here's the finished scanned painting. Thank you for watching.